Welcome to Everest Productions.
Hello. How's everyone doing? So today we're doing a Everest retrospective. Um, let me put the what do you call it? Uh, the link in the chat. There you go. Hello, Crimson Acolyte. How you doing? So we are going to be talking about the Phantom Menace today. I should have prepared myself a little bit, but let me just get my bearings straight here. So imagine it's 1998. It's 1998, and you decide to go see. Let's see, Joe Black. Meet Joe Black with Leonardo DiCaprio, and a trailer appears before the movie starts, and you're surprised. You didn't know anything about this, but you you're losing your mind. Well, what trailer is this? What kind of trailer is this? Well, yeah, the Phantom Menace. So this was the first the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. I saw it on DVD. I was a little too young to see it in the theater. I think this came out. I think I was two when this movie came out. Spoilers for my age, but um, it. I'm more of a episode 3, episode 2 guy when it comes to prequel Star Wars. Uh, but I have fond memories of the Phantom Menace. Um, Let me hold one sec. I'm trying to get a slide here. Google Slides, add slides. But basically, the Phantom Menace. When you're young, when you're a very young child, um, when you're a very young child, you don't think about you don't actually think about what movie came first or whatever. It's on full screen. Trying to get the okay. There we go. We'll do that. You you just don't think about it. And I had no comprehension of what came first as a kid when it came to um when it came to the sequels versus the prequels. It was Star Wars to me as a kid. Uh, but trying to apologies, trying to find the window to get my pictures. I have pictures here. I would have cheered out loud. Yes, I would have too. Um, the Phantom Menace was the first Star Wars movie to come out in a long time since the release of Return of the Jedi, and the hype was there. A Star Wars movie, a new Star Wars movie. Can you imagine it? Uh, man, sorry. This thing I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to get pictures here, and it's not doing it. Let me try. Let me try. Okay, this might work out. Okay. All right, we'll just do this. Here we go. Screen share. And huzzah. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. So so the Phantom Menace pretty much has a reputation. Either it's a hate you love it movie or you hate it. And when it came out, it really just got a reputation it did deserve, in my opinion. It's a deeper film than people seem to say, but then people could say it's not really that deep. It's trying to be deep. It's trying to be like something that it's not. And I have to say, I feel like the Phantom Menace led to more like deeper political worlds within the spectrum of the Star Wars universe. People were expecting stormtroopers again and Vader and stuff like that, but they weren't expecting the world building that the Phantom Menace gives us. Um, let's say there's a lot to unravel from the Phantom Menace, but let's take a we're gonna take a look at it, and we're gonna look at it from all sides. I'm gonna have more co-hosts here, and hopefully people will join in, pop in. I never hated this movie. It's not my favorite, but it's so criminally underrated and colorful. To hell with the haters of this movie. Yeah, I agree. I think the hate's undeserved, especially if you read the books. And we will get into the books um, later. But let's just start with the whole concept of the Phantom Menace. So the Phantom Menace is the first prequel of Star Wars. It was the first movie that, well, we already said it's the first movie to come out after the original trilogy, and this was George Lucas had always talked about. It's no secret he always talked about doing his prequel trilogy. Uh, Finally, he got a team to work on it with him. He and pretty much he his vision was fully realized, you could say. He had a beginning and end to his Star Wars. Um, Darth Plagueis and Darth Maul Hunter both make the film better. Yes, we'll get into Plagueis in a minute, or a minute or later into the stream. But the thing with the Phantom Menace that people seem to put down for is that it has a lot of sophisticated dialogue, but then again, it doesn't. It's a mix. You could call it. Yeah, I should say it. Well, if we maybe we should get the negatives. So, um, the this film came out and people were surprised by it because it was more political. It was more the acting, the directing was kind of not as strong, or in some cases, people people were expecting the original trilogy. You can't replicate that, and instead they got something new that they didn't understand. But there is some negatives to this movie that brought it down in its reputation, and that is that you know one of the things was, of course, the over political tone. Um, a lot of people made fun of the fact that you're going to see a Star Wars movie, but there's a chunk of politics. Funny enough, the political stuff of it, it's quite smart in its execution. But when the but if you're a kid going to see this movie and it's a mix of these adult politics and kid friendly scenes with like Jar Jar, it's kind of a jarring movie. And then you have the whole the whole purpose of this movie. I mean, you meet little Anakin Skywalker and stuff, and you meet Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan becomes Zack. The plot is not really big. Um, it's a straightforward plot. They gotta rescue this planet from these people that are controlling it. It's standard Star Wars. Nothing deep within that. It's in that story structure. Um, the funny thing is, you have that story structure, and then in the middle there's politics. Um, which again, I have no problem with. Jar Jar had the worst hate back then. Now he's one of the most loved characters. LOL. Yeah, that's I can say that's just that's just the times. The ones that hated this movie have kind of grown. They've kind of grown apart from it. I'm sure people say, "Oh, this movie's bad." Um, um, but the big okay, let's talk about the big issues with this movie before we get into the positives. There is the direction by George Lucas is not as strong as others, and he wanted to direct it his way. And it's kind of like the acting, it's I like it because it's more storytelling and it's more Shakespearean, you could say. Again, there's a lot of stilted dialogue and a lot of stilted acting with the line delivery, which is no biggie. Um, but I think there's a lot of charm in it, and this goes out. We'll keep bringing this up because this is throughout the prequel trilogy. Maybe this is what George Lucas wanted the way to be. He kind of wanted it to be like some Shakespearean, how Romans would act during plays, something like that in movie form. And it it not always works, but because I enjoy this movie so much, I have no problem with it. Um, the other big issues, uh, the other big issues, there is a more friendly kid tone than, yeah, there's a more child friendly tone the uh, than the prequel, the original trilogy. There was a friendly tone in the original trilogy, but this was more for like, oh well, children, directly children. And that brings us to probably the biggest thing that people have complained about this movie, and uh, I think he gets undeserved hate. But let's bring up Jar Jar Binks. I liked Jar Jar as a kid. I was I liked Jar Jar as a kid. I still like Jar Jar, but I can see where people come from that he's annoying. There are just scenes in there that don't have to be there. Growing up as a kid, you don't think about these things, but now when you rewatch the movie, okay, all right, I see where it is. There's a scene where he's jive walking and steps in shit, and as a kid, that you think that's funny. As an adult, you're like, oh, um, okay, well, this is Star Wars after all. And then there's a part where he smells a fart, and the horse or the opie likes it. I don't know. What do I think? Um, Jar Jar. I think Jar Jar definitely needed a better direction for. Well, no, not better direction. It needed a balance, and Lucas wanted this purely for kids, even though this movie's a little deeper on the kids side. But the whole movie is kind of a kids movie. I guess it kind of makes sense, but I mean, um, but the hate for Jar Jar was a little overrated. The worst thing about Star Wars is the fans, and the best thing about Star Wars is the fans. The fandom can pretty much, just the fandom can really knock. And they went after the actor that played Jar Jar, Ahmed Best, with horrible. The same with Jake Lloyd, horrible, horrible harassment because they didn't like this character. Never go after an actor that is just doing a job. It's the fact it's very, very sad. Um, it's a very, very tragic thing to go after an actor. Even though the pod racing was kind of neat, I thought it was a little too kid friendly. Yeah, I could see that. I liked the thing is I really like the pod racing aliens because they're unique and funny. They're I really like the prequel, aliens because they're you know they're not like in suits. They're so, they're different races basically. Some of them are a little funny for comic, um, but yeah. Michael Jackson wanted to also play Jar Jar Binks, which was a funny thing. Can you imagine Michael Jackson as Jar Jar? I can't. Um, and then the other big issue with this movie, and I'm fine with him because he's actually a little kid. I don't hate him. He's just a little kid actor. Why should we hate? But Jake, oh, that image is too small. Why can't I get a bigger image? Okay, how about let's try this? How it works. Jake Lloyd as Anakin Skywalker. Um, oh, so Jake Lloyd as Anakin Skywalker. People need to know this. This little guy was a kid, and we're gonna talk about it during the retrospective. But we need to bring up the we're gonna bring up the behind the scenes stuff later on. This little boy was a kid, and he was a child actor, and he was just having fun playing the character, thanks to George Lucas. And but this character, the problems I think was that I heard he has it rough in real life for being picked on. Yep, he sadly he has mental issues now. I think, and I think that stems from him. I think that does stem from him getting bullied as a child and humiliated, and I think he should have got help maybe on battling these issues. Again, the worst thing about the Star Wars fandom is the fans themselves. I think the fans are horrible. They go after if they don't like something, they go after the actors and actresses or whatever. We're seeing it today, and we're seeing it back. We're seeing it back then, and we're seeing it today. So, um, even though I hate the character of Reva, Moses Ingram did not deserve the hate she got for Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Jake Lloyd did not deserve. He was just a little kid playing a role, and he was just doing the lines. Yippee! I know he's not. Some people did not like. Some people did not like him. Did not like Anakin, young Anakin, and I can, it's a little kid, and he's saying stuff here and there, and yippee, stuff like that. For me, I had no issue with it. Although it's kind of it does bring up the we'll talk about the character in detail. I'm talking about the actor Jake Lloyd, but I think Jake Lloyd, especially if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, and I'm bringing this up again, you get used to it. You understand. Okay, well that makes sense. Crimson Acolyte. Ooh, that's sad. One of my favorites said he has bad relationships with her mother since he chose him to play Anakin, which is something I didn't know. Friends, I mean. And then Autotech says, "Hello, my friends. I'm glad to be here. I love this film. Hello, Autotech. How are you doing?" We're just talking about Jake Lloyd, and we're talking about the negatives of the Phantom Menace first, before we get into the positives. I'd rather get the pros and cons out before we get into the story, and then dissect that with the cons. Um, but he didn't. Yeah, Jake Lloyd. It's a sad story. He has paranoid schizophrenia. I think I really I think he really needed the help, and he didn't get the help. Mm. But anyway, on to the next negative, and the um let's see. We talked about the dialogue, some stilted acting. Uh, oh boy. All right. I guess I should bring this up. Uh, actually, no. I'll save the. No, I will save that for. I will save that for. What do you call it? The story in depth. That negative. I'm referring to the midichlorians. We will get to that later. Um, the other negative, I mean, uh, I guess I can bring this up. And okay, we need to talk about the. Hello, Brandon Looney Tunes fan. Most of my comic dumps are based around the Phantom Menace. The film has developed the Star Wars franchise in fantastic ways. Most media that come out after it references it. Yes, 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 indeed. Um, I hope he does stay okay. He seems so happy in the movie. Uh, we're gonna talk about the behind the scenes. I love the behind the scenes of the Phantom Menace. One of the few behind the scenes that's actually shows you how a movie is made and stuff like that. Okay, so the other negative I have is there's a lot of stereotypes in this movie. I mean, it's more of a nitpick, I should say, but come on. You don't see this as a kid, but now that you know what stereotypes are and stuff like that, you can see. Um, you have maybe the voices of these aliens should have been different, but the way they look and the way they sound is self-explanatory. And then you have Watto. Nothing's wrong with Watto, but I mean, he talks like this, and he has a beard, and he wants money. Yeah, uh, Jewish stereotype much? I really think they should have fought a little through with some of these characterizations. It's nothing wrong with that. Maybe it was George Lucas's idea, and he didn't think about it at the time. But I can play Watto. Watto's a good character. I like Watto, but you can tell it's very obvious what it is. It's oh, I like money. Yes, yes, yes. Come on. The other issue people have is it being. Let me see. God damn it! You can never get a good picture without it being small. Okay. People can't seem to decide whether Watto is a stereotype of Jews, Italians, or Arabians. I mean, it's there. I have a feeling it I've seen the stereotype before. You see this before, so you know what stereotype it is. It's not really thought out well. It should have maybe if it was he's a if they did something like Jabba or something, maybe gave him like an alien accent or woo rabba is or talk Hudda basically. All right. The other big issue people seem to have with this. movie is the politics, and we saw this. We actually saw this joke in The Simpsons. Let me see. Growing up now, I think the people were kind of thrown off guard how political this movie was and how different. Let me see here, how different it was from. So
Amendments? Regulatory agencies? What the fark butt?
Don't worry, they're just getting the plot out of the way so it won't slow down the pew, pew, pew.
Before the Galactic Senate votes, we shall call roll. Star System Abaton.
Yeah.
Star System Acroilius.
But yes, that's basically it. As much as I hate to say it, people were thrown off by that. The it's nothing. The politics was kind of new. It was world building in a movie that didn't really have much world building in the beginning. Or no, I shouldn't say it. It didn't have much political, like deep discussions as it did in the original trilogy. There wasn't like meetings. This kind of this brings up good that this kind of I feel like we saw the show Andor, which I really enjoy, and I feel like this. If we didn't get stuff like this, we wouldn't have got stuff like Andor because that shows a deep political side to the galaxy. Um, Not only that, but the whole essence of the prequels is evil. There's a hidden evil within the politics, the government of the galaxy. All right. Politics are going to work differently in a completely different universe than ours. Politics are inevitable when you want to make a story about a republic turning into an empire. The set scenes are important to the story and move the plot forward. Yes, yes, I agree. Andor actually pretty underrated. Yes, I think after sitting through Mandalorian season 3, which I did not enjoy, I'd rather take Andor any day. Auditect, I think you would enjoy Andor if you like deep politics, and I think you would like Andor. Yeah, just letting you know. Give that show a chance. I would rather watch that than watch something like Mandalorian season 3 again. But so we got the negatives out of the way. Let me run it down. Stilted dialogue, stilted acting, heavy political scenes compared to the original trilogy, Jar Jar Binks' humor, and then some of the acting like Jake Lloyd from Jake Lloyd. That's pretty much the big negatives people have about this movie. Don't get me started on Red Letter Media. I like Red Letter Media, but I think their essay on the Phantom Menace is ridiculous. Um, no hate, but their critique of this movie being the model critique of. I mean, their critique of this movie is longer than the movie itself. It's kind of sad. It's just a movie. It's really just a movie. The same with The Last Jedi and stuff. It's just a movie. If you don't like it, you don't have to say, "Well, if I would have done if I did this, I would have done this better." The thing is, with the Phantom Menace, the thing with the Phantom Menace, and if you guys are listening, listen closely. The thing with the Phantom Menace is that no one would have done this. This was all unique and original when it was done. And to go and say, well, George Lucas could have done this better, I could have done this better than George Lucas. You wouldn't even thought of it. Let's be honest, you wouldn't even thought of it. You wouldn't have thought it about the world. You wouldn't have thought about the locales. You wouldn't have thought about the character looks. You would have not thought about it. So please give me a break if you think this movie is the worst thing ever. For the record, I think Attack of the Clones is a worse movie than Episode 1. And we'll get to that on the next retrospective. But to Auditect. I already didn't like the character of Andor in Rogue One, so I'm not sure I'm all that eager to see a spin-off show. Andor is a part... so the thing with Andor is he's a part of the show, but it's not really about him. It's about the world. And the reason why the world of Andor works, because it focuses a lot on Mon Mothma. It focuses a lot. Listen, Auditect, you'll really love so the thing with Andor, sorry, this is about Phantom Menace, but I want to get him. Andor has acts where it's free episodes of a story arc and whatever. And there's a lot of characters in the Andor. It isn't just Andor. He's there. And I would say Andor is a much different character than he was in the Rogue One movie. He's not the guy he's from the Rogue One movie. He's just this guy. Please watch Andor. Please. If the first 6 episodes don't get you hooked, then I don't know what to say. But back to the next one. Plus, I care for most of the Jedi aspects, and I heard Andor doesn't have that. The thing with, again, Andor isn't about the Jedi. It's about the political, the Empire's hold on the world and stuff like that. It's the best world building for the pre-New Hope, the Empire. It feels the most genuine, trying to show the rise of the Empire. I like Andor more than I like Rogue One. Truth. It's about time people finally realize how nonsensical the RLM critique are. Yes, I think they go way too far in their critique that, I want give them the money. Let's see these people. Again, anyone that criticizes this movie and thinks it's bad, give them the money to make the movie themselves and see how it turns out. Crimson Acolyte says, I agree. I think he's agreeing with that, aren't we? Crimson Acolyte says, I don't hate Ato TC, but it's the most boring in the prequel trilogy. Well, I'll save it for a retrospective. I'll just say it was the first Star Wars movie I ever went to, and I fell asleep. Incognito says Andor is overrated. Disagree. Real Wide Nation Gaming is Andor is a yawn fest. Disagree. AOTC is too much of a love story. That's its weakness. I agree. All right. Back to the so let's get into the story of the Phantom Menace. Now we got the negatives. So the Phantom Menace basically is, you know the story. 2 Jedi are sent on a mission of trade negotiations with the Trade Federation, who was basically, I think that they're going to occupy the planet of Naboo and the young Queen Amidala and kidnap, the young Queen Amidala. They go to the planet, they meet Jar Jar, and for one, and vice versa. The 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 one thing I liked about the Naboo was new. The whole Naboo stuff was an interesting. Let's see, is this a good? They meet Jar Jar. Um, the Jedi. Oh, first of all, the Jedi Knights. We know them. They are Obi-Wan and his master Qui-Gon. Um, Obi-Wan is played by Ewan McGregor, and Qui-Gon Jinn is played by the wonderful Liam Neeson. Uh, the uh, uh, the Trade Federation. Let's talk about the Trade Federation because we're gonna go in deep. I'm also gonna do a retrospective on the same video on Plagueis. Very good book. The Trade Federation pretty much has had. There's a lot of connections with the the whole Naboo and Trade Federation relationship. If you're going by legends, which I consider to be true canon, even though stuff like maybe Andor and some aspects of Mando I like. But, the Trade Federation is pretty much being manipulated by the Phantom Menace. And who is the Phantom Menace? As a kid, I thought the Phantom Menace was Darth Maul, but it's actually Darth Sidious. It's not a good. It's not a good image. The whole movie, the title is about Sidious. He's the Phantom Menace, and he's the true villain. He's the one playing the chess pieces of this story. And he wants them to kidnap the queen, but the Jedi, rescue the queen. They escape Naboo, and they go to Tatooine, and then they meet the boy known as Anakin Skywalker. Qui-Gon sees a lot of tired of this. Like, I pick a link and it does the complete opposite of what I want to do. But see, yeah, Naboo is one of my favorite planets in the Star Wars galaxy. But definitely, I love it. It's beautiful. What I noticed recently is that Jedi Knight and Jedi Master meet silly alien guide who talks weird has become a staple in tie-in stories after the film. Yeah. Legends to canon. Let's go. 99.9% of all of the EU is what makes the sequel trilogy look like what was written by a 3-year-old. Yeah. I have not all of the EU is perfect. All right. I can't agree with that. I can't really agree with that because a lot of the EU, there's a lot of the EU that, while it fits the era of when it was written, it doesn't work well. There's really, really, really bad stories in the EU that make The Last Jedi look like a masterpiece. And I know that's heinous to say, but if I ever have to read The Crystal Star again, I'm not going to read that. Odd Attack, the underwater scenes in The Phantom Menace alone have more creativity and imagination put into them than the entire sequel trilogy together. Yeah. Oh, by the way, what do you think about Return of the Jedi playing in theaters again? I'm gonna go see it. I'm probably gonna go see it. I saw The Empire during COVID, Empire Strikes Back in theaters during COVID. I'll go see Return of the Jedi. Wait, it does. Yes. Please, please, don't take this as an insult. The EU is great. There's just some books in the EU that are horrible. I'm sorry. Don't be blinded by, please don't allow yourself to be blinded by the love for legends and stuff. But there are really some stinkers. There's really some stinky ass stinkers in the EU. And Death Troopers is just zombies. Give me a break. But back to the story. They meet Anakin. Anakin is played by Jake Lloyd, and his mother is played by. Let me see. His mother is a wonderful actress. She didn't really get the time to shine in. Well, actually, she did. Yeah. Pernilla August. Okay, Pernilla August. Pernilla. The one thing I really liked about George Lucas was he got he got a lot of really great actors from I'm sure he watched the movie Trainspotting, and that's how Ewan McGregor got cast as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Uh, Pernilla August, I think, was in. She was one of. She was one of the Sweden. It says here she's one of Sweden's leading actresses, and yeah, definitely. But basically they are slaves to a junk dealer named Watto. I'm a Nemoidian. I'm Watto. The handmaiden of the queen appears and joins them on their travels, and it's Natalie Portman. Spoiler. But the handmaiden, makes friends with Padme, makes friends with Anakin, and so Anakin. Now, one of the weird things I found weird about the Phantom Menace. And don't get me wrong, but maybe they did correct it when he was a little older. But the age difference, I think Natalie Portman's in her. She has to be in her late She's a little older than. I think she's 16 or 18. Maybe in the movie she's 14. And he's 8. Is he 8 years old or 11 years old? I don't know. There's a weird age difference between them, and they're not necessarily flirting. He has a crush on her, but they do become the lovers later on when they're in appropriate age. But their interactions, I really like their interactions. And are you an angel? Yeah. Okay. I'm not a big fan of Infinite's End. I left it out of the dub series because of how bad I think it is. But besides that, I think the rest of the EU is perfect. Well, Padme was 14 and Anakin was around 9, 10. Anakin and Padme have a 5-year difference. Han and Leia have a 10-year-old difference. Okay. All right, I guess that makes sense. But Anakin is a pod racer, and he offers to get them the parts they need if he wins the pod race. And Watto bets on it. So Qui-Gon bets on it too because he senses something with the Force. And then he later finds out that Anakin has a large. All right, well, let me talk about the one negative people have about this movie. And again, we talked about the negatives, but there's this one little negative that you need to discuss when talking about the plot. And you could argue it's just called the Force, the life cells in your body, but I'm obviously referring to the midi-chlorians. So he has a big, huge midi-chlorian count, and he's a really powerful Force user, or the Force senses. The big issue with the midi-chlorians for a lot of people was that the Force in their mind was this magical aura. It wasn't science, it was magic, like fantasy. And now that there's there's their kind of a scientific explanation for the midi-chlorians, a lot of people were put off by that. Like, oh, what? You mean the whole Jedi thing was science? That makes no sense. To me, the midi-chlorians, they're not scientific. To me, they just represent the amount of they just represent the energy, the energy around us, like the material. Is it safe to say that the midi-chlorians represents the aura? I used to think the reason Anakin is the only human who can pod race is because you need to be small to man a pod racer. This seems to be contradicted with the EU showing taught aliens being pod racers. Maybe. The original trilogy already hinted at the Force being related to genetics, with Luke saying the Force is strong in his family. The Phantom Menace also introduced some more mystical elements of the Force, such as the cosmic living or the living Force. Yeah, so I don't get people's complaints about the midi-chlorians. There's an argument that the midi-chlorians are not the Force. And that they're just life cells that detect the Force. They're not the Force itself. And I think I go by that, basically. In canon, they try to argue that midi-chlorians was just used in the Republic era as science by the Jedi. I don't care what the canon says. Should anyone really care? The midi-chlorian count. This is a hot. Here we are saying PM is fantastic, and interesting fans like the Cosmonaut Variety Hour literally hates even Revenge of the Sith. Man, how divided. Who could hate Revenge of the... unless you're a boomer. I mean, you can hate Revenge of the Sith if you're a boomer. Some people complain about the Phantom Menace even to this day that saw it in theaters. But I don't know who to. like the one film criticisms I said the big things the negatives I say is from a film criticism standpoint. It's not from a Star Wars standpoint. I think this is the perfect Star Wars movie and stuff like that. But hating stuff. Back to moving on from midichlorians. So he has a large midichlorian count. He does the pod race, and pod racing is fantastic. I went to see this in 3D when it re-released back in, what was it, 2011? Oh my god, that was right. I'm kind of sad they didn't bother to bring back Revenge of the Sith in, or the Phantom Menace in 3D, or release it on 3D Blu-ray. I would have bought it. Yeah, they were gonna re-release the Star Wars films in 3D. It got canceled thanks to Lucasfilm and Disney. They did stream the others. They did stream the other films at Celebration in 3D, but I don't know, I was disappointed. I kind of wanted to see the other two. I didn't care for the original trilogy in 3D. Well, actually, you know what? 3D conversion nowadays is really good. I saw Jaws in 3D, and I thought the 3D was excellent. And that movie came out in 1975. So the conversions they're doing for these 3D movies, these old movies, are wonderful. It's kind of sad this didn't get the proper. It didn't get the proper. I'm trying to find a good image. Didn't get the proper 3D. It did. But let me see, podcasts. No, not podcast. Pod race. The Boonta Eve Classic was a wonderful. Is a very wonderful sequence in this movie because of the sound design, and it's like a sci-fi race car track. I don't remember any movie doing a sci-fi, race like this. Oh, we got some questions. When I was younger, I was disappointed because I thought ROTS, the video game, did some things better than the movie. But make no mistake, I think ROTS is phenomenal. I think the best version of ROTS is the novel by Matthew Stover. I say this all the time, but when it comes to Star Wars, canon should be what you make of it. Since Disney can't even decide that, I have a headcanon that Disney would obviously disagree with. I feel the same way about Star Trek. I loathe Picard Season 3 with a passion. I think I feel like it doesn't deserve the praise it gets. It makes me irritated. And I don't want to think of it as the canon to the next Star Trek: The Next Generation, the show I grew up with, because it's so detached from what it is. I can't fathom thinking that this is the same universe. Because then, if you think the same with The Last Jedi, you have to think, oh well, this is what it comes to. This is what. Okay. And what would headcanon be? That the sequel trilogy was just a dreaded bad dream? Mara, I had a horrible nightmare. Involved the Jaguar being destroyed, a gun, bathroom, tuner turning something out, and then there was a mouse. I'll text you. That reviling the sequels would be better. Rise of Skywalker is yet to come, and it has Darth Plagueis in it. Yep. There was a pod race scene in Emissaries of Mount Star editing that was really fun, and I tried my best to emulate the feel of the pod race. But yes, the pod racing scene, I think, is one of the best. It's one or two of the best scenes in the movie. And I mean, it's self-explanatory. He wins the pod race and beats Sebulba. There's a lot of hijinks and CGI funny. The one of the things this people like to say is, "Oh, this movie has too much CGI" and stuff like that. The whole Bunta Eve thing is actually physical models. Um, it's it's a mix of models and whatnot. And let me see if I have an image here. Here we go. Wonderful craftsmanship. But I'm losing my train of thought. Trying to remember. So, Watto loses his bet with Qui-Gon. He frees. He frees. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I wish I had a co-host here. I invited a couple friends. They should be joining soon, but basically, what happens? What's that? It says scale model. I'll have to take a look at that. They free Anakin, but they can't free his mother, and then he says farewell to his mother, and there's a heartfelt goodbye. I wish I could play the music, but I don't want to get copyright struck. Meanwhile, we get to the other villain of this movie, and sadly, he don't have much role in this movie, but everyone remembers this character, who's sent by Darth Sidious to track the Jedi and stuff. And we have Darth Maul. Now, Darth Maul is played by Ray Park and voiced by Peter. I think Peter Serafinowicz. He's not Sam Witwer, because Sam Witwer, but Peter Sera. Maul does not only speaks a few lines in this movie. He doesn't have, again, he does. He's kind of his only really prominent stuff is near the end of the movie, but he's felt. But Darth Maul is sent basically to take out the Jedi, get the Queen. Can't wait for Revitalize. Okay. Did you know they put an action figure of Prince Zakor in the Potterish crowd? Wikipedia is unsure where to count that as Zakor appearing in the film. Wikipedia has a bunch of problems. Darth Maul was actually going to have a lot more lines, but Peter quit on the job. I don't think so. I think no, he had a lot more lines for the trailers, but I don't think he. Funny enough, the first scene they filmed, we're gonna get to the behind the scenes documentary in a minute, soon. The first scene they filmed was the first scene that Maul speaks with Sidious. That's the first. Maybe you're right that maybe there was more dialogue, but I don't think he. Maul pretty much was a mindless minion in the. He was a mindless minion basically in the what do you call it? The Phantom Menace. Much as I like TCW taking over the canon as much as it does, I won't mind Sam Witwer replacing Peter. He appreciates the role far more. Yes, Darth Maul. I think Darth Maul has been redeemed as a character since by the Clone Wars in Lucas. Although, not to say that the books about Maul were pretty good before the Clone Wars. But back to it then. Maul attacks Qui-Gon. They have a duel. Let's see. Qui-Gon versus Maul. This is a very prominent role, or this is very prominent in the Star Wars universe because this is technically the first time a Sith has reappeared in quite a long time. The first time a Sith really appeared in I think 100 years, because in the Plagueis book, it's been 100 years since Darth Maul and or Darth Bane. It's been 100 years, or more than 100 years since Darth Bane, and the Sith have mainly stuck to the shadows and stuff like that. Coruscant does look great in Coruscant does look great. It's a really wonderful looking city, and a really imaginative world that Lucas created. But back to it. So they go to. This is where they go to Coruscant. They meet with Senator Palpatine, and I forgot what was it. Palpatine. So they go to. So Palpatine wants her to do something with Chancellor Valorum, and because Chancellor Valorium's not budging, Palpatine convinces Padme to, vote no confidence, like in a British Senate. Vote no confidence. To vote no confidence. And that's where we imagine if Phantom Menace gets an anniversary and plays in theaters with Sam Witwer voicing Maul this time. Honestly, that would be pointless because he only has a few lines in the movie. I'm sorry. That's kind of a pointless thing to do. I don't think Maul needs to be redeemed. He clearly makes an impression as extremely memorable in the Phantom Menace. He's a flat character, but the film doesn't try to make him look complex. So Valorum loses his seat. Palpatine is possibly voted as Chancellor, and they don't really help the Queen's decision anyway. So she decides to take matters into her own hands and lead a assault on Theed and basically take over the palace using her soldiers. They convince the Gungans to help them in their cause. which leads them to their assault on Feed, and which leads into the Duel of the Fates, which is probably the best duel, the greatest Star Wars duel ever, and one of the most important events in Star Wars. The 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 it is the hallmark of all the Star Wars movies. Trying to get some good artwork. I think this is it. So, Duel of the Fates, very important. The music. It's called Duel of the Fates because this is the duel that leads, that changes the fates of everyone. Qui-Gon dying leads Anakin on the path that he is. It leads to Obi-Wan training. I think if Qui-Gon, of course, if Qui-Gon trained Anakin, he would not turn. Obi-Wan training. It is the defining moment in the whole Star Wars universe that leads to Darth Vader, and it is one of the biggest. It is one of. It is by far the most important fight in all of Star Wars. Don't know how. I need to reiterate that. It's amazing how directed it is too. It is. There's no dialogue in Duel of the Fates. It is the choreography by Nick Gillard is wonderful. The just the way it's shot, the way the music goes with the scene, the I don't. There's not another fight that tops this. Maybe Vader versus Luke in Empire, or I would say Return. No, Return of the Jedi, not Empire. Since Vader wasn't really fighting Luke in Empire, he was basically playing with him. It's pretty much, this was the scene people remembered the most when they went to go see the Phantom Menace. All of the stuff with Jar Jar and stuff just kind of faded away because of how enthralling the final fight is with Qui-Gon, Darth Maul, and now. I would say this is the one fight you don't ever change from the story. You don't remove this from the story. You don't edit it from the story. It is it's the fight that it's my favorite. It is my favorite duel in all of Star Wars. It's the one I like to rewatch the most. It's the one that it's a hallmark of Hollywood sword fighting, dueling. It's one of the best fights in the climax, and yeah, Duel of the Fates, 10 out of 10, love it. We all know what happens next. It gets the part where Qui-Gon gets killed. Obi-Wan takes to train the Obi-Wan. Let's see. Obi-Wan defeats Maul using his smarts and outsmarts the Maul. It leads into Obi-Wan taking. Wait. I skimmed over the Jedi Council stuff. I'm sorry. Duel of the Face. All right, I skimmed over the Jedi Council stuff. Let's go all the way back and let's talk about the Jedi Council and young Anakin. So, what happens is that the Council brings forth young Anakin, and they don't want to train him. They don't want to train young Anakin. You know, he's just a boy. Because he's too old and he has a lot of conflict within him. Qui-Gon insists, and Qui-Gon wants to train him as his own Padawan, and he wants Obi-Wan to take the trials. This brings conflict with the Jedi Temple, etc., and so forth. Back to where we were. Now that we got that out of the way, Qui-Gon dies. Obi-Wan decides to take in Anakin as his apprentice. And then the Trade Federation is arrested by the Senate or the Republic. The Gungans are presented award by the Naboo people, and the Queen and young Anakin, they become friends, and it pretty much is the Phantom. One of the big things is, of course, Yoda and Mace Windu, played by Samuel L. Jackson. They discuss who the master was, and if was this the master or the apprentice. They show the camera pans to Senator Palpatine, and that kind of gives it away, but it's obvious who it was. But and then they have a big parade, which is the parade music is, by the way, Palpatine's theme turned into a parade music, meaning that Palpatine has won. They may have smiles, but Palpatine has won the day. Well, I love the council scenes for introducing so many fan favorite characters, even if they don't do much into the movie. Okay. The EU gives them a rainbow full of lightsaber colors. I consider this part of TPM's aesthetic, even though it's not in the movie. Sadly, they retcon that in Attack of the Clones. In Qui-Gon's funeral, Obi-Wan and Padme are literally all who stand between Anakin and Palpatine. So that's the plot of the Phantom Menace. Now we're going to get into the real juicy details of the Phantom Menace. We're going to talk about the books, and there's I think there's Shadowhunter. The big one, James Luceno. I feel like James Luceno is the one that complimented this movie because he did two pretty good books. He did Cloak of Deception. He did Cloak of Deception, and he did Darth Plagueis. Cloak of Deception came out after this, and it kind of filled in the gaps. It was more about the political side with Valorum and how the Jedi got to be. Let's see if I can bring it. I haven't really read this book, to be honest. I'm going to once I finish the audiobook of Plagueis. By the way, I'm not. I wish Audible would. I might see. I wish Audible would sponsor me, but I'll sponsor them uh, for free. Let's see here. Again, if you don't like to read and you want to listen to these books, I recommend subscribing to Audible. Again, I'm not official sponsor, and if I would happily sponsor them. Please, it's free a month. If you don't like reading and you like listening to audiobooks, a lot of these authors and narrators are great, like Daniel Davis, Mark Thompson, and I think Jonathan Davis was it. I think, and you can find Cloak of Deception on here as well. Oh, Alexander Adams. Oh, unfortunately, it's abridged. A lot of this stuff's abridged. Darth Maul Shadowhunter. They redid. Shadowhunter has an actual audiobook by Sam Witwer, who and I own this book. Would recommend this book over the original audiobook, the one with Sam Witwer, because it is the voice of Darth Maul. Of course, the best, the greatest audiobook, in my opinion, of the library I have is the Darth Plagueis audiobook by Daniel Davis. Back to Cloak of Deception. We'll get to that soon. Cloak of Deception kind of fills in the gaps of the political sphere of the Phantom Menace, and it deals with Valorum and Palpatine's. I don't think it hints. I think it makes it subtle who Sidious is. It doesn't explicitly say Sidious is Palpatine, if I'm not correctly. Obviously, I think they were trying to wait to reveal this till Revenge of the Sith. Darth Plagueis is automatic canon for me. I read Cloak of Deception. It's okay, but pretty boring at times. They changed the color of Adegalia's lightsaber in the German translation. It's crimson in the English version and blah in German. Turns out there's a story also written by James that shows Darth Maul arriving at Boo, and he secretly learns the identity. Again, this is just one of those fill in the gaps books. I think Lucino's Plagueis book trumps this over. His Plagueis book also makes references to this. So number one of the Phantom Menace tie-in books, this one I give a B. Although I didn't read it all. So, all right, we're not yet. We're gonna get to Shadowhunter. Again, would recommend the Sam Witwer. Read my lips. Sam Witwer audiobook of this story, and not the original audiobook because it's abridged and so. Come on. My God. So Darth Maul Shadowhunter. Darth Maul Shadowhunter is kind of a side story that's set before Darth Maul, before the Phantom Menace. It deals with trade. It deals with pretty much Darth Maul's. He's kind of assassin. He's a hunter, and he hunts this Jedi. He hunts the Jedi. It's been a while since I've read the book. It had something to do with this one Nemoidian that I don't necessarily remember. I know Jedi got involved somehow, and I have Audible and I have it in my library. Good man. It even has reference to the droid cartoon of all things, since one of the villains' size from is mentioned. I think this is a pretty good book for the most part. It ties into it pretty much is the prequel with the Darth Maul sides to. It also includes that James Luceno novella, but it's kind of, again, this is a side story. This isn't truly connected to the Phantom Menace yet. It is kind of the prequel to that story. I think, but yes, Darth Maul Shadowhunter would recommend it. Story. Now, one other book, the novelization by Terry Brooks. We'll go into briefly into that. Compared to James Luceno and whoever wrote that book, Michael Reeves, was it? This one, I think, is just the story of the Phantom Menace. There's nothing really added. There's a few things added, like maybe the opening. I might have to reread this one. Have you guys read the Terry Brooks novelization? Sidious and Maul had to kill him, but it is the entire chapters of material created. All right, I'll have to read this. If it's like yeah, I definitely will have to read the novelization of episode 1, The Phantom Menace. By the way, a lot of people got these novelizations and stuff before the movie came out, so they knew the spoilers. Newest edition adds the Darth Maul in-game story. Okay. All right, now let's go into the king of all Star Wars books. The one that came at the very end of the EU's life. There came a book that was written by James Luceno, and it is possibly one of the best Star Wars stories ever. It is, y'all know what it is, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. We are going to talk about it. Yeah. And we are going to talk about the one that ties everything together. We're going to talk about Star Wars The New Jedi Order Hero's Trial. Now, this is a very great story by James Luceno that ties a lot into the New Jedi Order. This is the hallmark of all of all of all of the Star Wars universe. It's the no, I'm no, the book I'm actually talking about is Dark Plagueis. Um, the Darth Plagueis. So, the story of Dark Plagueis is, I think, the best book that connects the Phantom Menace to. It connects the Phantom Menace um, to the Darth Bane to the Darth Bane. It connects the it connects the beginning to the middle to the whatever. It's a good story, is what I'm talking about. And the big thing about the Darth Plagueis book is that it's actually two. It's not really about Darth Plagueis himself. Um, Act 1 is focused entirely by Darth Plagueis, but Act 2 is actually focused on Palpatine. You could argue that this is more about Palpatine's origin than it is Plagueis, but the first chapters get us to explain to us who Plagueis is, and we get to that point where we actually meet Plagueis, and um, Plagueis is truly the things in Plagueis connect so much to the Phantom Menace. It makes the Phantom Menace so much more enthralling because of why the Trade Federation is here. The whole thing with Naboo. It's kind of a godsend that such a well thought out and just despicable book could come out of the Star Wars. Despicable in a good way, because the villain of Darth Maul and don't you just hate when you get artwork and it's the complete opposite of it's just small? Let's see. There we go. Much better. Obviously, that was a joke, Crimson Acolyte. The This is the book I wish people would read and then watch the Phantom Menace and then give their opinion, because it ties so well into the whole Darth Maul thing and Sidious, and I would like to see an animated series of Darth Plagueis. People have asked me if I would make this an audio drama. I'm going to say no. Unfortunately, I think the audiobook is good enough. And I would recommend the Daniel Davis audiobook for sure. It's my favorite too. I listen to it a lot. Okay. If you're watching this stream, please go out to Audible, subscribe, please, and get this book. Again, it's worth your 15 hours. It's worth. The Plagueis book, it explains the motivations for Palpatine. It explains it brings good. It explains Anakin's conception. I don't really know how to describe it. I think maybe the one issue I have with the Plagueis book is that maybe maybe it shouldn't be called Darth Plagueis because it is about Darth Plagueis, but he's not really the main character of the second half of the book. It's more about Palpatine. You could call it Darth Sidious, but then you could call it Rise of the Sith. But yeah, this is the book I recommend if you want. This makes the Phantom Menace more makes sense. Again, you need to know the whole. It does. It does make sense that Jedi battle scars. Yeah. Oh. Well, I would do a deep dive into Plagueis right now. Sheev and Hago's silly shenanigans, basically. So this is my my co-host couldn't join me today. They sent me some messages. Next time, I'll try to arrange them to join, and when we cover the Attack of the Clone, let me see. Oh, wait! I'm not done. Let's talk about the beginning.
It's one of those things. It just happens. It's like what Star Wars did when it first did it.
So, one of the best behind-the-scenes movies ever, and it's an hour long, is the beginning making of Star Wars Episode 1. This is not glossed over. This isn't, I hate Disney's behind the scenes series because they're so fake and, everything was good. I enjoyed, working on stuff, and it was great working on this movie and stuff. And, I really, it was great time working with this actor and so and so. This is not that. This shows you how a movie is made.
With this use.
This shows you everything about the Phantom Menace. There's disagreements, agreements. There's literally George Lucas.
And in the case of somebody who writes and directs, it is my life. I mean, everything I write is my life. I'm not writing some sort of hypothetical thesis on something. I'm writing a story that I have to get extremely emotional involved in because it's going to take 2 or 3 years of my life to do it.
And it's a really wonderful movie to. It's not a movie. It's just look at the bow droid. Droid.
Yeah, 10,000.
I think that's Steven Spielberg right there.
Oh, sorry. These droids, I can't get the physiology right. There we go.
There's tons of people that love to come and see him work on this movie. He spends a lot working on this tech. The actors meet each other.
Are we ready? Are we sure that this isn't a terrible mistake?
Are you scared to death?
Oh no.
There's relationships that you see. There's tension between producers and writers you see in this film. It's a great hour of getting to actually see how a movie is made, and it's not glossed over. It's not
That's all right.
primed and like, oh, this is how we made this movie. So everything was fine and good. No, some things George Lucas doesn't like, and is like, "Can you change it? I hate this." And I was like,
Everybody,
I didn't know the first scene they ever filmed was the scene with the scene in Coruscant. That was the first scene they filmed. So interesting. But yes, would recommend watching my new canon characters, Pash Devon, for exactly the reasons you think. Um, but yeah, would recommend watching this. It's fun to dissect um, everything about this movie. And there's a Qui-Gon sporting his Chad sunglasses. So pretty much that's my retrospective. If it was me rambling on for an hour and 40 minutes, it pretty much was. This movie I grew up with, and it's one I treasure, and I still will sit down and watch it. It's not a movie I really don't watch a lot. It's a movie I sit down and enjoy. Ugh. Can't say the same for Attack of the Clones, which we'll cover another day. Now, what rating would I give this movie? I'll give it an 8 out of 10. If you want like a review of it, it's an 8 for sure. Maybe an 8.5. I want to give it no, not 8.5. It's an 8. It is my second favorite of the prequel trilogy. And yeah, Phantom Menace is a wonderful. It's a movie. Its reputation doesn't deserve it. I think it doesn't deserve the rep it got, and that's all thanks to just grumpy Star Wars fans, I guess, that were expecting. You can never duplicate the original trilogy. The original trilogy is never coming back. People need to accept that and move on, but they won't. But looking forward to see Return of the Jedi in theaters. I might do a little short YouTube short review on that when I go see it. So I want to thank Outdetect, Acolyte, Crimson Acolyte, Brendan Looney Tunes fan. Thank you, man. Let's see who else. Incognito. Where's Incognito's? There you go. Andor's overrated. Okay. So Incognito, I saw your messages on that update I did. I want you to know that I'm trying to look for a job and stuff. And I'm sorry I have to bring this up on a stream, but I didn't want to reply. I wanted to reply to you face to face. So if you see this, I am trying to get a job, and plus I'm working on millions of other projects, and it takes so much to work on The Rise of Skywalker. I hope you know that sometimes I can't finish things on time, and I need to stop giving things dates. And I honestly, if I had to choose between my job and trying to find a job and trying to find do The Rise of Skywalker, I would pick my job, because let's be honest, jobs are more important, and you want to make money. So bills, YouTube don't pay the bills at all. I made like what, $7 this month. For all I know, there might be extra scenes and better graphics. Extra scene Jedi Rocks reprise. we don't need Jedi rocks, and we don't need that scene. No. All right. Who did I miss? Oh, and then Real Wade Gaming Clips. Andor is a yawn fest. Well, to each their own. I'm sorry if you know, I feel the same way about Mandalorian. That show was a yawn fest. There's an echo. Okay. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining my Phantom Menace. This will always be pop-ins, so feel free to pop in the next retrospective we do. Hopefully my co-host will be here. I was supposed to have Jason, Mr. Fox 540 Studio, and then Cash Money 007, but they've been busy, so no co-host today, but I handled everything on my own quite well. He's probably not here and didn't hear what you said. It's fine. He'll get the message soon. It's I'm sure you understand, Crimson Acolyte. I can't. Some people are so kind of demanding in this community, and I can't. It's nothing against them. I know they're fans of my channel, but I'm doing everything. And you know, sometimes my real life comes up, and I can't just sit on a computer and go, "Duh."
Well, let me see that Padaka scene, the one where everybody's sitting
Well,
down.
I had an idea how we do it, but it's turned out to be a little more difficult than I thought. But I'll show you.
Yeah, well, some people are impatient. What can you say? It's YouTube. I'm not even done. I can tell you, if you want to know, Crimson Acolyte, how much I'm done. I still have about 50, 60 minutes to work on, and it's a lot of action scenes, and that's going to take a month's work to do. It took me half a month's work to do the last 20 minutes. So it takes a very long time to do this stuff. I think I might finish it by June. But you know, if I'm doing this work interview stuff, then I'm pulled away from it. So, oh no, don't worry. I completely understand, which is why I have no problem with you delaying. Yeah, thank you, man. You're understanding. But to finish off, besides talking about me and talking about you guys, to finish off, the Phantom Menace, wonderful movie. And I'm going to do more of these retrospectives. You know, for all we know, it could just be me doing these retrospectives. That's fine. I enjoy talking about this movie. It's with you guys in chat. You know, reliving our childhood, you could say. And the Phantom Menace does represent our childhood. It also represents the ugly of the fandom. It does represent the good and bad and ugly of the Star Wars fandom, with the attacks on Jake Lloyd, and the the movie does have problems. I pointed that out. I always point out the movie's flaws before its pros. But in this case, I think it has more pros than flaws. But you know, I'll be in some people's shoes. They came into this movie thinking it was going to be another original trilogy. You're never getting that back, as my friend Phil McCracken says. You're never getting the original trilogy back. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. So I want to thank everyone for joining me today. We'll cover Attack of the Clones next week on Saturday. This will be a weekly thing. Again, someone brought up that I should review all these movies, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to review each of them. And I can't wait to talk with you all. But yeah, next week will be Attack of the Clones on Saturday, the same time. Maybe it might be a little later to accommodate some people. So Attack of the Clones next week. Good. So now I'm going to dive in here like a good fish and bid you all farewell. And yeah, see you next week.
Welcome to Everest Productions.